In this activity, we're going to be importing our automobile from AutoCAD into 3dsMax, and then we will be merging it with a racetrack and then applying it to a line so the car will race around our figure 8 and do a jump. So then go ahead and open up your automobile. Let's open up our 3dsMax, and once you have 3dsMax open, we're going to want to import our automobile as a AutoCAD drawing. And the easiest way to do this is cut and paste the link, and then select your latest car that you've saved, and make sure that you have saved it with layers. It's very important that everything is on layers as wheels and glass, and then make sure that the settings are as you see here, and you can check your layers, make sure they're all on, select OK, and then once you import all your images, you want to, your object, make sure you inspect it, make sure everything's there, that there's nothing missing. And this is a race car, as you can see here. So you may want to go ahead and inspect three-dimensionally your vehicle. And before we get too carried away here, I want to go ahead and select some layers, and first thing I'll do is select my windshield, and it may be under glass, but go ahead and find it. I have a front and a rear on this one. And then we'll go ahead to the material libraries and the editor, and I have the link on our T drive in the auto in that folder. So go ahead and open that up and copy the link is the easiest way to do it for shortcut to materials. And then I'll go ahead and material library open, and I'll just paste in that link. Alright, and there are a lot of different things here. The glass, as you'll see, is going to be under the doors, and you can play around with this and just try it out. The problem with the clear glass is it's so transparent that you don't even notice it's there. So there's mirrored, there's a little bit more reflective, and you just have to play around with it. And so this is the mirrored. You won't see it until it's actually rendering as a mirrored, and you can always do a test rendering as you go along. And sometimes 3dsMax doesn't bring in those revolve or the loft as well as we'd like it to. Sometimes it doesn't actually show up, so there's not much you can do about that. Alright, so here's a clear glass. You can see you're seeing right through it, and you just need to play around with it. And so I'm not going to go ahead and do all this. I will go through some other materials here. The best materials here, the quickest ones, are in the 3dsMax library, so that's a good place to go to. So when you need to, just go ahead and open up a new, and you want to make sure you're doing it to the material editor. Okay, so there's other materials that you can use. There's chrome, and you can, this is why you want to have a lot of different layers on your vehicle, because every layer you can apply a different material to it. And there are a lot of metals. If you look in the 3dsMax, if you scroll down there, there's a lot of very generic, but they work fairly well. And you're going to want to try all this out. Okay, so let's get this wrapped up. Let's find another material here for the car. Alright, you can spend some more time, and you'll want to spend some more time on this. So now what we want to do is go ahead and this is the grouping here. If you select that group, that's where you're going to group. Now before we do that, let's go ahead and we're going to need to actually select the automobile. So let's select the entire car and then go to group and go ahead and type car and say OK. And then what we're going to do, and you can test that by moving it, we're going to go ahead and merge. Don't import it, you want to merge it. So let's go merge and go to the shared folder where the automobile is, and you can just go back from here and just copy the link for the automobile and paste it in. Then go ahead and say OK, and you'll see the racetrack. We want to select everything. Select OK. Alright, so once we have it in, inspect it. This is where you need to determine if your car is too small. You can always scale your automobile in here once it's grouped if it's too small or too big. But what we're going to need to do now is go ahead and get a line. So we go to the line tool, and we want to make sure that it's a curved, a smooth line. And you'll want to go to the top view, and it's easiest if you make that the larger view. And then start where I'm starting, so we can line your vehicle up thereabouts. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then making sure it's on the smooth, you'll just go around this figure 8. Now you may not notice here, but there is a jump. If you put one at the base of the jump and then one in the middle, it'll probably help you. I'm going to go ahead and go around it without putting one in the middle, so you can see how you can actually do this. And what you want to do, you come all the way around, and you want to connect it. Snap it right on, and it should give you the option to make it one. Alright, then we're going to want to move this because it defaults very low. So go ahead and select it and right click and say move. And you should see the arrows come up. Alright, so I just grabbed onto it, and there I see. Now I need to elevate a little bit, not too high. And you're going to have to play around with this as you go along. Now what you're going to need to do is we're going to need to change these splines. Alright, so go to the line, the vertex, and you'll see these splines, and this is why I should have put one in the middle here, because if I'm going to go ahead and move these so they go up, but you'll notice they don't, the vehicle doesn't actually go up the ramp. So I'll show you what happens here. We'll go ahead and move these up. Alright, so make sure that it's going above the little jump. And there's a couple ways of doing this, but we're going to want to add another vertex in here for the spline. So we actually want to get the spline tool. We want to just create the segment. And then what we want to do is come down. Let's take a look at the top view. We have the segment selected. And we'll go to refine, and we'll just collect it right in the middle, select it right in the middle, and now we can go back and refine this. So you can bring the other two down to the base of the jump. So we'll move the center one up a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and move those two down. And you're going to want to spend a little bit more time than I am after you do this. Okay, so then what we want to do, once we get this thing, we're just eyeballing it right now, we're going to want to attach our car. So select the car, and the easiest way to do is, rather than selecting the vehicle itself, go to the top view and go to the you can select it by going to the select objects and just select the car and make sure it's there, and select. If we've grouped it, it's going to go ahead and group it as one piece. Alright, and then we'll go to the motion control, similar to what we've been doing with the camera, and go to position and go to path constraint, and then add path, and we'll go ahead and select the path that we created, and we want to follow it. And if it is not facing the direction that you want, go ahead and rotate it so it is, and do this by selecting the outside circle and rotate it in the direction you need. Alright, and then let's look at it in all the views, and I only have 100 frames, but this will probably be okay. And so get the perspective so you can see the vehicle, and go ahead and press play when you're ready, and make sure that it's all lined up. And you want to make sure it's doing the jump. So go to the perspective view, and you may need to go back and change the jump or whatever lines you created, and make sure your car is jumping. And when we're done with this, I'm going to have you guys drag it into the T drive. I'll create a folder for you, and you can save this, and so we can merge this into a racetrack where we'll have other vehicles. And so inspect it. We're right now just doing 100 frames. If you want to add your own camera, you may want to do that and create a rendering. But you've completed this exercise, and save it into the T drive, and you've completed the exercise for today.